The movie opens with soldiers desperately reporting over military radios as mysterious creatures launch a sudden, global attack. In Nederland, Colorado, most of the town is destroyed, but areas above 8,000 feet remain untouched. Despite their best efforts, the military is quickly overrun. 3 years later, humanity clings to survival, taking refuge high in the Colorado Rockies, safe from the monsters that can't climb above 8,000 feet. In a small mountain town, a boy named Hunter often sneaks below the safe altitude line. Using binoculars, he watches a distant settlement on another mountain. One day, on his way back, he spots a glowing red light following him. A monster has caught his scent. Sprinting uphill, Hunter crosses the safe altitude boundary just in time, and the monster halts its chase. At home, Hunter tells his father, Will, about the encounter. Furious, Will scolds him for the risk, reminding him of his weak lungs, which require oxygen every night and could have failed during the escape. Later, Will goes hunting with Caddy, a friend of his late wife Tara. Will explains that Hunter visits the other settlement because it's where he last saw his mother. Caddy sympathizes, knowing Hunter feels lonely and misses having friends his age. During their hunt, Will and Caddy successfully bring down a deer and head back. On the way, they see their neighbor, Na, testing homemade armor-piercing rounds on a piece of monster scale. Before the apocalypse, Na was a brilliant scientist. Now, she's determined to find a way to kill the creatures. That evening, Will hears an alert from Hunter's breathing machine and quickly changes its filters. Born prematurely, Hunter's lungs are weak and require constant care. Realizing their supply of filters is running dangerously low, Will decides to take a deadly trip to the lowlands. He plans to head to Boulder, hoping the hospital there still has the supplies Hunter desperately needs. The next day, Will spends time teaching Hunter how to protect their potato plants from the cold and properly catch fish. It's Hunter's birthday, so Will buys the last packet of macaroni and cheese, Hunter's favorite, to make a special dinner. During the meal, Hunter expresses frustration about having no one his age to talk to and asks why they don't use the radio to contact others. Will explains their electricity barely powers Hunter's machine, and they communicate with other shelters using flags. After dinner, Caddy stops by with beers, and she and Will sit on the porch reminiscing about life before the apocalypse while watching Na's latest experiments. That night, Hunter suffers another respiratory attack, forcing Will to use an emergency syringe since they've run out of filters. Realizing he's out of time, Will visits Na in the middle of the night. Their tense conversation reveals that Na once went to Boulder's labs to gather chemicals for her research, but the trip cost Tara, Will's wife, her life. Will deeply resents Na for Tara's death, but asks her to join him on a dangerous mission to the hospital for filters. Na refuses, calling it suicide, but Will insists she owes him for Tara. After he leaves, Na begins crafting a special compass, haunted by memories of the monsters slaughtering her friends, including Tara. Guilt eventually pushes her to agree. In the morning, Will asks a neighbor to look after Hunter for 5 days, then heads to the armory to prepare. Caddy confronts him there. Angry he planned to leave without telling her. Their argument reveals her feelings for him, and when she learns Na is going, she insists on joining too. Outside, Na warns Caddy about the monsters, describing how bullets barely faze them and how they tear through people like paper. Despite the danger, the three prepare to venture into the deadly lowlands together. Before leaving, Will reassures Hunter he'll be back in 5 days. Bitterly, Hunter reminds him those were his mother's last words before her fatal trip with Na. The group sets off along a carefully planned route to minimize time below safe altitude. To save time, they aim to use a ski lift to cross the lowlands quickly. Tension rises between Na and Caddy, who openly dislike each other. Frustrated with Na's drinking, Will knocks a flask out of her hand. When they spot a wrecked military convoy below, destroyed by monsters, they decide to scavenge supplies. Na explains her special compass detects monsters within half a mile by sensing their strong magnetic field. She gives the compass to Caddy, tasking her with keeping watch while Will searches for gear, and Na digs up a piece of monster scale for research. Will finds a grenade launcher but admits he doesn't know how to use it. Caddy confidently attaches it to her rifle, joking, "I'm from Texas," to which Will retorts, "I'm from Louisiana. Doesn't mean I know how to use one either." Before continuing, Na accuses Caddy of flirting with Tara's widower, and Caddy fires back, blaming Na for Tara's death. The argument escalates into a fistfight before they reluctantly move on. On the trail, they encounter a herd of wild horses, a rare sign of nature thriving in the lowlands without humans. Eventually, they reach an old ski resort with a lift to the next mountain. Na spots a monster on her compass, the warning light glowing. Caddy suggests running to higher ground, but Na insists there's no time. Will sides with Na and sprints to power up the lift. As the monster closes in, Caddy fires the grenade launcher. The explosion slows it briefly but doesn't stop it. While Caddy and Na hold off the creature, Will restores power and starts the lift. He and Na board a chair, and Caddy climbs a support pole, leaping onto the moving lift just in time. Will grabs her arms to pull her up, but the monster lashes out, striking the cable. The shock causes their chair to shake violently, and all three fall. Luckily, the drop isn't fatal. Scrambling to their feet, they sprint toward the safe altitude line, barely making it as the monster halts at the boundary. That night, they take shelter in in a resort cabin, sharing whiskey to calm their nerves. Na reveals how the creatures attacked humanity so swiftly that there was no time to study them. Civilization collapsed in days. She explains that monsters don't consume their kills or attack animals, only humans, adding to the mystery. She also notes that they've never been seen sleeping and are unable to climb above a certain altitude. Before bed, Will reflects on his last argument with Tara. He had tried to stop her from joining Na's trip to Boulder, accusing Na of being driven by selfish ambition to make her name as the first person to kill a monster. Will argued that Na, having no family of her own, couldn't grasp the value of life and was willing to lead others to their deaths to achieve her goals. Tara, however, refused to listen. The next day, the trio reaches a mine that cuts through the mountain, with entrances and exits above the safe altitude. Na is furious when she learns Will didn't warn them that the middle of the tunnel dips below the line. She reminds him that monsters emerge from underground and navigate the darkness with ease, while humans don't stand a chance. To make things worse, her compass won't function properly inside the mountain. Despite the danger, they strap on helmets and descend into the mine. At the far end, they find the exit locked and have no choice but to climb down into lower tunnels to find an alternative way out. Na warns them to move slowly and quietly to avoid exhausting themselves or releasing too much CO2, which the monsters can sense from far away. As they explore, they spot a faint red glow. The group runs, and Caddy fires a grenade to block the entrance, but the blast only slows the creature briefly. They squeeze into a narrow crawl space, turning off their flashlights and holding their breath. When the monster gets too close, Will ignites a flare to distract it, giving them time to crawl further. Caddy leads the way, but suddenly encounters another monster. It impales her with a tentacle and drags her into the shadows. Devastated but helpless, Will and Na find another ladder and climb out to safety. They mourn Caddy briefly before continuing to a ranger house to rest for the night. At the house, Will finds a package of macaroni and cheese, Hunter's favorite meal, and reflects on how often he's made it for his son. By the fire, Na shares her theory about the monsters. Their scales generate an electromagnetic field. She believes a specially designed bullet could disrupt the field, causing the creatures to explode. Will dismisses her idea as absurd, expressing regret that Tara died trying to help Na with her crazy theories. The next morning, they take the ranger's truck and drive toward the hospital. As they enter the city, they move cautiously through the buildings, searching for medical supplies. On the upper floors, they find an empty storage room but hear a noise below. Pressing onward, Will eventually discovers another storage area stocked with the filters he needs and fills his backpack. As they try to leave, Na notices a monster nearby on her compass. The creature smashes through walls in pursuit. They flee to the next floor, but a tentacle bursts through the wall and grabs Will, trapping him. Nina swings a fire axe, severing the tentacle and freeing Will. Activating the fire suppression system for cover, they run down the hallway and find a storage room filled with oxygen tanks. Will devises a quick plan. He orders Nina to run while he sets up an ambush. When the monster charges, he shoots a tank, triggering a massive explosion that blows the creature out of the building. As it lies motionless, Nina, who didn't actually leave, insists they take a detour to a nearby lab instead of returning to the mountains. "How much time did you just buy yourself?" she asks. 6 months? A year? Then you'll be right back here again. We can't live like this forever. If we can prove they can be killed, the world will fight with us. Reluctantly, Will agrees. They drive off, unaware that the creature outside is beginning to stir. At the lab, Na seems more confident as she experiments with chemicals, testing them on pieces of monster armor to create a weapon. Meanwhile, Will explores the facility and discovers a photo of Na's family, a shocking revelation. Confronted, Na admits she lost her children during the first attack because she went to work on her day off. Haunted by guilt, she confesses, "I shouldn't have encouraged Tara to come with me. I thought I had it figured out, but I was wrong. I hate myself more than you could ever hate me." Will, feeling his own guilt, replies, "I only blame you because it's easier than blaming myself. I knew she'd go, and I let it happen. We can't keep doing this to ourselves." Na's initial experiments fail, frustrating both of them. Will suggests leaving, but Na insists she stay and continue working, promising to catch up if she succeeds. She reminds him that Hunter needs the filters to survive. Using a blowtorch to speed up her process, Na refines her method and notices rechargeable batteries nearby. She incorporates cobalt, a material used for powerful magnets, and successfully crafts a cobalt-coated bullet. As she tests the weapon, a monster crashes into the building. Na takes aim and fires, successfully short-circuiting the creature's electromagnetic field, causing it to explode. Meanwhile, Will races back toward the mountains in the ranger's truck, but a blown tire causes the vehicle to crash. Regaining consciousness, he hears a monster nearby. Grabbing his backpack, he runs toward higher ground, but the creature relentlessly pursues him. As he nears the safe zone, 2 more monsters appear, trapping him. Desperately, Will fires at them, knowing it's futile. Suddenly, one monster collapses and explodes. At the top of the hill, Na stands triumphant, wielding a rifle loaded with cobalt bullets. She takes down the remaining creatures, revealing their robotic interiors. They're machines, she says, programmed to target humans and avoid altitudes above 8,000 feet. Their advanced design hints at extraterrestrial origins, though Na jokingly suggests otherwise. Back at the village, Hunter tearfully hugs his father. Na raises a Jolly Roger flag on the village pole, signaling other settlements that they've found a way to fight back. The news spreads via radio, and locals begin crafting makeshift cobalt-coated bullets. At the village memorial, Na and will place a bullet inscribed with Caddy's name, honoring her sacrifice. Together, they vow to fulfill her dream of fighting back. Armed volunteers descend from the mountains, and explosions light up the landscape as alien robots are destroyed. Humanity is finally fighting back. The film ends on this hopeful note, with a subtle jab